So we discussed till 1813 Charter Act. Okay, so the last Governor General we discussed is actually Lord Minto I. So Lord Minto I, and under that we have discussed about 1813 Charter Act. Okay, so now so far we have discussed about 1773 Regulating Act, okay, 1784 Pitt's India Act, and here 1813 Charter Act, and in between I've told you 1786 and 93, not that significant, okay, but 83 is very important, especially the impact of 1813 chart, not 83, 1813 Charter Act is very important. What is that impact that we have discussed? The main impact is related to, it led to deindustrialization in India. So if you get a question in mains, mainly this is a point that you need to stress on. The main reason why we lost that balance between agriculture and industry, why the contribution of industry is so less, okay, in terms of employment, okay, and in terms of GDP. In GDP also the contribution is very less because of this, because there was no further scope of development of industries in India after 1813 Charter Act, and Indian industries and Indian artisans were totally ruined. Okay, so I've discussed about that. Till then there was a balance between agriculture and industry, but now that balance is going to be broken. All the imported products are coming, and that is reaching each and every part of India, and that totally ruined the Indian artisans and their life. Okay, so Anjali, your mic is on. Can you turn off your mic? Why I should tell this to all of you? This is something which you have to keep in mind always, and you are there in sociology batch also. So this led to deindustrialization. Okay, so that's what we have discussed in 1813 Charter Act, and there were some provisions like some measures were taken to improve education. That also we have discussed, that the company was directed to spend rupees 1 lakh for the purpose of betterment of education in those areas where they have control. So that is also one of the provision, and apart from that there are some other small provisions like Christian missionaries were allowed to come to India. That is one thing. Okay, and the company was given 20-year more tenure. Okay, so the company was given to rule or to collect revenue. That rights were given for 20 more years, and after 20 year what will happen will be discussed with another act. So 1833 you will see some other act which is coming, and in that also this 20-year extension you will see the 20 more year East India Company can go for revenue collection and everything in India in the name of the crown. And again 1853 also it will be continued, okay, and that will be continued till 1858. So all these we will discuss now. So what I'm saying is 1813 Charter Act we have done. Now one of the impact of 1813 Charter Act we have already discussed, that is deindustrialization. Now after this, who's the next Governor General? The next Governor General is Lord Hastings. Okay, this is not Warren Hastings. Warren Hastings was different. This is Lord Hastings. His time period is 1813 to 23. Now during this time, some not that significant events are there, but Anglo-Maratha War, in fact the third Anglo-Maratha War, that war is more important during this time. That we will discuss separately when we discuss about the Maratha wars in detail. So here a few points that we need to discuss is, there was Anglo-Nepal War. Okay, there was an Anglo-Nepal War during 1814 to 16, and it actually ended with the Treaty of Sagauli. Okay, and Lord Hastings was honored as Marquis. So not an important provision, so we are not stressing on this part. So he was given the position of Marquis. And then the second one that we need to discuss here, and that we will discuss in detail when we discuss about Anglo-Maratha War. The second point is the third Anglo-Maratha War. Third Anglo-Maratha War. And why the third Anglo-Maratha War is important is because in the third Anglo-Maratha War, the Marathas were completely crushed. Okay, and the institution of Peshwa, the Peshwaship will be abolished, and the Peshwa at that time, that is Peshwa Baji Rao II, okay, was sent to Vittur. which is a place near Kanpur, and he lived rest of his life in Vittur only, and he was granted a pension, some pension. And this, once a king is beaten, always they will not allow the king to stay in that particular area. This is something which the Britishers always do. You can see after 1857 revolt, Bahadur Shah Zafar, once the king was beaten, he was sent to Rangoon. Okay, similarly, if you remember Shah Alam, also we have discussed during Battle of Buxar. I have told you Shah Alam was now living rest of his life under the pension. So in fact, giving pension is it's a kind of mercy that the Britishers are doing with the ex-kings from Shah Alam onwards. Okay, so now Baji Rao too, he was sent to Vittur. That means he was uprooted from his area. And in this third Anglo-Maratha war, the Marathas were totally crushed. All these Scindias, Gaikwads, Holkars, okay, everybody, every section was totally crushed, and the institution of Peshwa got abolished, and Baji Rao too was sent to Vittur. Why this is actually done is because if you allow this king to stay here, what will happen? He can come back again in a very powerful way. He can gain the support of the local, he can mobilize the army once again. So if you are allowing him to stay back here, he can come back very stronger. And especially if you see the subcontinent people, like India, that our region, people are so much emotionally connected with the rulers and ex-rulers. Okay, and that's why even if you see the politics in subcontinents, these are mainly the families are controlling. If you see Bangladesh or India, if not now but before, right, families are mainly controlling the politics, and that's what you call as feudal dynastic democracy. The democracy is there, people are getting elected, but still a family is controlling everything. 1 minute. Okay, so that is what you call as feudal dynastic democracy. The point which I want to tell you is, people are so much emotionally connected with the ruler and ex-ruler. So if you allow him to stay back here, he can mobilize the army and he can come back very stronger against the British. So that's why he was uprooted and he was sent to Vittur. Now, when we discuss about 1857 revolt, I will discuss about Nana Sahib. Okay, Nana Sahib, Tantia Topi, etc. So from where Nana Sahib is fighting? Any idea? From where Nana Sahib was fighting the revolt? Kanpur. Do you know who is Nana Sahib?
Adopted son of Baji Rao.
Yeah, Nana Sahib is actually an adopted son of Baji Rao too. Okay, so he is actually a Maratha, but still, why he is fighting from Kanpur is because his father was uprooted right from here, and he is living rest of his life in Vittur, in Kanpur. So actually, Nana Sahib got that new address after this. Okay, so we will be discussing all these things later, and in the context of 1857 revolt, we will discuss. So the point here is the Anglo-Maratha war, and this war is very significant because the Marathas were completely crushed. And now, more than this war, why now they are fighting the wars? Okay, that is more important. During Hastings' time, there is a change in policy. Till then, they were very happy with whatever area they have, and they were very much occupied and engaged with their area. Even though they signed a subsidiary alliance with many kings, many local kings, and many kings were forced to sign also, but still they were not having any intention to annex that area. The intention was mainly to develop their army across India without spending anything from their side. That was the main idea of subsidiary alliance. But now there is a change in policy. You can see they are looking for more area, and they will start annexations, and for this they will fight a lot of wars, and they will annex for different reasons. You will see annexation on the basis of misgovernance, you will see annexation after the war, you will see annexation on the basis of doctrine of lapse, etc. Now, why this change in policy is there? If you ask me, it is again because of 1813 Charter Act. So one of the most important impact of 1813 Charter Act again is because of that only there is a change in policy. How can you connect it with 1813 Charter Act? What is the reason? Can anyone tell me the reason? Yesterday, in fact, I have told you, right? 1813 Charter Act, the main provision was end of monopoly, except in two items. Forget about the two items. Monopoly ended means now more and more companies are going to come to India. So they need markets now. And they also need cheap raw materials. Okay, so they need more area, they need cheap raw material, and they need to sell their products, so they need market. So for this two reason, if you need to have access to this, you need to have political control. So they started annexation. Okay, there was a change in policy and one of the impact of 1813 Charter Act. So if the question is about 1813 Charter Act, you not only talk about 1813 Charter Act mainly see, nobody expect you to write all those provisions like Christian missionaries was allowed to come. Okay, then some 11 percentage share was given to the court of directors, the board of directors. All these things are not at all important. The power of board of directors increased. Okay, another 20-year the East India Company will now control. These are not at all important in the question. The two important points I've told you, and how that points are shaping the future. Okay, for example, education, I've told you it's a milestone, and end of monopoly is also a milestone, which led to deindustrialization in India on one side. Secondly, this led to there is a change in policy. Now they started annexations. That is the reason why I stressed on that 2 points. Otherwise, you can see all the other points in spectrum directly written, but you will not get any single question from that points. Okay, but still from prelim side, you can read that and it is self-explanatory only. In fact, I have explained now also. So I hope this is clear. There is a change in policy. For example, if there is a cotton factory established in England, okay, so if there is a cotton factory in England, what does that mean? Then they are in need of what? They are in need of cotton. Now from where they can get cotton? They can either get from US, or they can get from Egypt, or they can get from India. US already got independence by now, so you can't get it. You need to pay for that. Okay, and they consider Indian cotton as better. So in which area cotton is grown in India? Which area? Cotton need, this black soil or this regular soil. Which area you have that? That Deccan, that Maratha region, right? And that's why they captured. So that's why they captured that Deccan region. Okay, so everything is now going to be connected with 1813 Charter Act. If you see 1813, this is a kind of analysis and this is a kind of understanding that you need to have. And that's why you're attending the class. Spectrum, you won't find all those things. Why I told you to read spectrum is because the perspective you will get from the class, and while reading spectrum you will get all the facts. Okay, so that is the only thing. Otherwise, if you keep on reading the big textbooks, it's a waste of time for you. And when I am putting that effort, when I am doing that, there is no need that you need to read that. Okay, so perspectives I will give you. Just focus on spectrum for the prelims, and that's more important anyway. You have to remember all the facts. Okay, so for perspectives, again, there is no point in reading. In case if you need to read, you can read Bipin Chandra, and also I have told you to read Muhammad Tariq Khan, and my teacher was Tariq sir only, so my lecture is connected to that. So if you can get that textbook, it will be very easy for you to connect. You can get that perspective and it will be very easy for you to understand. Okay, so this class, and if you can supplement it with I have told you, right, TMH, Muhammad Tariq Khan. If you can get that book, in fact, he is my teacher. So if you can get this book, it will be very easy for you to connect also. Okay. So, and all these things that I'm discussing, it is there in the textbook towards the end as synopsis. So that will again help you to go for quick revision. Okay, so I hope you understood the impact of Third Anglo-Maratha War and how is it connected to 1813 Charter Act. It is connected to 1813 Charter Act because now they are looking for more and more area. So you can see here the areas which benefited them the most, they started annexing those areas. Now the Deccan region is going to give them benefit in terms of economic aspects. More areas there, more territories there. Okay, and you can get a lot of other advantage also. Okay, so for this two reasons, for raw materials, to get the cheap raw material, and also you need market to sell the products. All these Liverpool clothes and Manchester clothes and everything which is, pumped in India, so it has to be sold in market, and they are desperate to get the market. So for these two reasons, they started annexation. So the main point that I want to tell you is, annexations are going to be started. There is a change in policy, there is a shift in policy, and Pune also was annexed into Bombay Presidency after this war. Okay, so Marathas were totally crushed. Marathas, that Peshwaship was abolished. Bajirao too was sent to Vittur, and Pune was annexed into Bombay Presidency. And also during this time only, Ryotwari settlement was introduced in Madras province. Okay, that we have discussed already. Ryotwari settlement was introduced in Madras province. By whom? By Thomas Munro, who was the governor. Okay, Munro and Reed. Okay, Reed was the person along with Munro. So Munro was the governor of Madras at that time. So Rottweiler settlement was introduced. That we have already discussed. So I'm not getting into that. You know what is Rottweiler system, which area it was implemented, what percentage area it was implemented, what was the system, who was given the ownership, and how money lenders are emerged, and how was it connected to Deccan rights. Everything we have discussed in the second lecture when we discussed about permanent settlement in Lord Cornwallis. Okay, so that's about Lord Hastings. The main point that I want to discuss under Lord Hastings, the key point that you need to understand is what? There is a change in policy. Why there is a change in policy? The change in policy is mainly because of 1813 Charter Act. 1813 Charter Act, monopoly ended means more and more companies are going to come. They are in need of markets and raw material. So I hope everything is now connected. So if the question is about 1813 Charter Act, you mainly write that 2 points, monopoly and education, and then talk about the impact of this, how this related to education, that you will understand more in the coming sessions. And monopoly ended, it is connected to what all things. You need to talk about deindustrialization, and you also need to talk about annexation. Here itself you have a lot of content to write. Don't go and keep on writing the other main provinces like in bullet points like this, and that's not a matured answer. I've seen in the test series people are writing so much of answers, and if I ask you the impact of 1813 Charter Act, I'll tell you generally what the students will write. I'll tell you 1813 Charter Act impact. If I ask you, mainly you're studying all these for prelims, so you know around 6-7 provisions in the act. All these are simple. You will write about companies, directors were given dividend of 11%. Are they, is it having any, there is no need to talk this in mains exam. Okay, so there is nothing to do with this particular point. Christian missionaries were allowed to practice in India. Again, maybe some importance will be there because Christian missionaries are coming. Some instances of conversions are there. Okay, but again, when we discuss about Christian missionaries, you need to be very careful. You will see evangelization, the process of evangelization, one of the reason for 1857 revolt, etc. But I will discuss this in detail in 1857 revolt. But don't outrightly write evangelization. They came here, they converted all the people. If they came here, if they wanted to convert, they could have converted every Indian to Christianity, because 200 years of British rule, they could have done that. But hardly how many Christians are there? Hardly 3%, 2 to 3% is there. And that too, where they are located, in the northeastern part of India. There nobody was interested. Mughals was not interested, Marathas were not interested, neither the British also not interested. So the Christian missionaries, when they started preaching the good messages of Jesus Christ, started offering the food, medicine, okay, and also started giving educations. Okay, they started nursing homes, orphanages. So contribution of Christian missionaries is so high. And if you see those people, they were tribal people. They were never having any organized religion. And once these people went and started preaching the good messages of Jesus Christ, they automatically converted. Okay, so the point what I want to tell you is this level of maturity should be there in your answer. Just don't write, what all provisions are there in like bullet points, 11% and then 20 years more. Okay, and then Christian missionaries. No, even if you don't write all these things, no problem at all in your answer. If you can write these two, and if you can explain this, and also education related, we will discuss a lot of other developments, like yesterday also I've told you Macular Minute, Wood's Dispatch, Hunter Commission, etc. Okay, so I basically want to give you an idea that how you're going to proceed with this particular answer. It's not at all required. If possible, okay, you're writing this, it's not a problem, but you're not going to get anything out of writing this. But if you can focus on this two mainly, and if you can explain this, because the most important impact of 1813 Charter Act, if the question is about impact, that impact is coming from here. There is no impact, anything coming from here. Maybe, okay, Christian missionaries, you can say something, but the impact that you can see from these two cannot be seen from 11% dividend or another 20 years, nothing. Okay, so here deindustrialization and annexations are started, and education we will see later. So I hope this point is very clear to all of you. And then next person is Lord Amherst. Lord Amherst, 1823 to 28. Again, from exam point of view, there is nothing much important to discuss under Lord Amherst. There was a war here, the first Anglo-Burmese war. But the first Anglo-Burmese war as such is not important. But the second Anglo-Burmese war to an extent is more important, and that is actually happening during the time of Lord Dalhousie, later in the 1840s. So let me just write here the first Anglo-Burmese war, 1824-26 time. Okay, so apart from this, there is nothing much to discuss under Lord Amherst. The second Anglo-Burmese war, which is going to happen during Dalhousie's period, is more important because in that war the lower part of Burma will be captured, and then that war is important. We will discuss that later. Okay, so after this, the next Governor General, I think 11th, Lord William Bentinck. Very important, Lord William Bentinck. So from the Governor Generals that we have discussed so far, who all are important? Warren Hastings is important because he is the first one and we have discussed many things. Cornwallis because of police reform, civil service reform, judicial reform, permanent settlement, etc. And then Wellesley for subsidiary alliance, then Minto I for Charter Act of 1813, and then Hastings for the change in policy. Now Lord William Bentinck, and in future we will be discussing about like Dalhousie, Dufferin, Lord Canning, okay, Lord Curzon, Lord Mountbatten, Lord Lytton, Lord Ripon. All these are again going to be very, very important Governor Generals. So when we discuss about Lord William Bentinck during his time, the main point is one related to anti-sati resolution.